Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus, another special edition, a mini episode. We're talking about stage 15 of the Vuelta a España. Rui Costa won in classic Rui Costa fashion, just sitting on those wheels, sucking the life out of everyone in the breakaway before putting his nose in the wind for about 10 seconds at the end to win. Remco Evenepoel was up there driving the break all day, finished fourth. We will talk about that a little bit as well as the big picture scenario of what's going on here with Remco. Is he making the right decision, going for breakaways every day, slowly taking time back, or should he do something else? Johan, I'll get your thoughts on that right after we hear from our sponsors.
Hey, hope you're enjoying the Move Plus with Johan and Spencer. I'm JB, and I'm just going to jump in here for a second to tell you about our partners at Manscaped, who are doing a great thing. We've told you earlier in the year, April was Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Well, they're taking a step further. Let's talk about the threat of testicular cancer year round. Let's get guys to check themselves, take care of themselves year round, and they donate to it as well. So if you're in the market for something to take care of yourself down there, check out the TCS Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. With the launch of their special edition Lawnmower 4.0 purple trimmer, Manscaped will be donating another $25,000 to their longtime partner, the Testicular Cancer Society. So get your order in now. Get 20% off, free shipping, and use the code THEMOVE, all caps, one word, THEMOVE, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code THEMOVE at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Now back to Johan and Spencer.
All right, Johan, what's your takeaways here about Remco, his decision to, I guess, get in the breakaway every day, drive the breakaway, and then try to outsprint everyone with everyone on his wheel from the breakaway? Do you think this is a good idea?
Well, I think, it was a great idea yesterday when the climbs were hard and he knew that he could, drop whoever was with him. Today, I think personally, I don't think it was a good idea. The stage was a lot less hard. I'm not going to say it was a lot easier. It was a lot less hard. And you kind of have to think that after yesterday's incredible raid, he did ride and raid, I would say. He has to feel the fatigue also. I mean, he's not a robot. He's not Superman. And so to me, it seems like, at least that's what I take away sitting here, behind the screen, that he thought he would do the same thing all over again today. And, cycling at the highest level doesn't work that way. Not even if you call Remco Evenepoel. So personally, I think it was a mistake to go in the breakaway today. It was very likely that there were going to be other good riders with him, and that it was going to be difficult to drop these other riders on that last climb, 6%, 5% slopes, fatigued, knowing that you have to do the vast majority of the work in that breakaway. And, it was not just one or two riders. There were 7-8 riders with him. And especially, if you see that guys like Rui Costa and breakaway specialist Leonard Kamna, and those guys, man, when they're in a break, they're in it to win. It's not just be in there to be in the break. I think it was not a smart move. Of course, if he would have won the stage, I would have been talking differently. But still, I personally think that it's a bit of, I wouldn't call it naive, but I really don't know if he's the guy who's making those decisions, or if there's somebody on that team who's kind of telling him, hey, you know what, let's do this, or let's do something else. It's not going to work every day. So that's a bit of a question mark to me. Is the directions and the advice he's getting from the team management, and especially from the car at the race, is that the right way? I've said already many times, a rider of that category, of that pedigree, when they're good, they're incredibly good. And the main job of a sport director is, think about the next days, think about the team, and trying to slow them down and only release them from their cage when it matters. And to me, it sounds that that's not the case in Soudal QuickStep with Remco.
No, I think it's a really good question. I don't understand what's coming through the radio. And if you think about yesterday, like, well, you guys said he was awesome yesterday. Well, those are HC climbs on a really tough mountain stage. You know, if you're so strong, you can just sit on the front. Drafting doesn't matter as much. You can pop everybody off your wheel. This is a significantly different stage. You know, at 6%, those guys were going almost 30 kilometers an hour up those climbs. That's like 18 miles an hour. Draft matters a lot. You'd think you'd want to be caught. And this has been a problem Remco's struggled with his whole career, just sitting on the front on these 6% climbs. Everyone else is drafting. And you're kind of wondering, what's the plan here, man? Like when he's good, when he's really good and the climbs are a little bit steeper, he just rides away.
Yeah.
No problem.
And also, Spencer, you know, I mean, even on climbs like this, if this is a one-day race and a guy like Evenepoel is fresh, he'll drop them. But this is day 15 in the Tour of Spain.
Yeah.
You know, this is different. You know, at the end in the last week, you know, even if you think you're good, all of a sudden, I remember, I mean, a long time ago when I was racing the Tour, for example, you know, I said one year I won a stage in week 1, you know, and then I said, well, after 2 weeks, this stage, you know, I'm circling it. I'm going to try to be in the break and I'm going to do it again. And I was in the break. There's no way I couldn't do it. I couldn't drop anybody because you're already at, you know, everybody's at probably 80%, but when you're at 80%, then, you know, your cruise speed is just, that's all you have. You don't have that punch anymore. And so I think that's what happened today with Remco. Of course, you know, he also paid today for what he did yesterday, but also on that last climb. I mean, at some point he actually got dropped from the little group he was in. And I thought it was only logical that would happen. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously great to see that he's fighting back, you know, and that he wants to show that he's still a factor and that he's still a great rider. But I think today's initiative was not your smartest move.
Yeah, and I went back and did a quick rewatch of the stage before we recorded this, like a condensed rewatch. And if you just pause it at many times, it's Evenepoel on the front, Rui Costa on the back. Evenepoel on the front, Rui Costa on the back. And I know people don't like Rui Costa because he just sucks wheels, but guess what? That's how you win races. Like Evenepoel should ride a little bit more like Rui. When Remco learns about drafting, he's going to be unstoppable. Like this guy won't be able to lose a race.
He learns about drafting. That's a good one.
I think you're pulling on a thread here with this one-day comparison that he's approaching stage races as though they're 21 one-day races and not as an entire work of art, perhaps. He's not connecting the dots, maybe.
I think there's a few things that need to be revised. You know, as we said yesterday, probably the planning of the season. And, you know, this for him this year, this was a weird year, you know, as we said, you know, Giro was his main objective. He went out with COVID. Then I think the mistake was to put Switzerland there in between all of a sudden, not respecting the recovery period. And then preparing for the Worlds, San Sebastian. So all of that, but, you know, the planning, but also the long-term strategy in a Grand Tour, in my opinion, is something that his team is lacking. And it's only normal, you know. I mean, if you look, the directors at the team, they're young guys, you know, they're recently retired guys, Klaas Lodewijk and Iljo Keijse. You know, they were not stage racers. They've been on teams and they've raced stage races, but never with the philosophy of, okay, this is how we need to approach it. And, you know, it's too easy to say, well, you know, you look how others do it. That's not the way. You need to feel it. You need to actually have that mindset. And you need to feel as a director who gives instructions and advice, you need to know what these guys feel and what's going to come. And if you never felt it yourself, it's difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think that's something that they should look at Soudal QuickStep in terms of, you know, they're talking about recruiting stronger climbers and this and that. And yeah, they're doing that. But there's also other things that I think should be looked at in terms of people who are around Remco who could maybe give him better advice.
Do you think there's a single person who works at the team that raced a 3-week tour for the GC?
No.
Yeah, that seems like an issue.
I'm just saying that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's not.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. And we were talking offline during the race about what Remco's strategy, like certainly it's fun to watch this and he's making the race exciting. We'll talk about how much he disrupted the beginning really quick when we're at the end. But do you think this is good? Just go for the stages every day. He's kind of climbing up to GC. He might finish inside the top 10, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, but I mean, Spencer, top 10 for Remco Evenepoel right now is it's nothing. Means nothing. And in my opinion, the same goes for winning another stage in this fashion. He came in as the defending champion, one of the favorites, had the bad day. The day after, did this amazing ride. That was, kind of a statement, although a lot of people say, well, I mean, we all know people who have been in racing and know about what's the value of a performance like this. It was an amazing performance yesterday. But going again today and trying to win another stage from a breakaway is not going to add anything to what Remco Evenepoel stands for. What I would do if I were Remco Evenepoel, or if I would be the person who advises him, I would say, okay, Remco, okay, you've now won this stage, let's just reset. We have 1 week left. You have 1 week here to, come out of this as good as possible. Not just in terms of results, but, looking to the future. And for me, there would be only one thing that I would go for. And that would be focus on the stage of the Angliru, which is, I think, stage 17.
Yeah.
That's the hardest climb that's still to come, a monster of a climb. And there, you've just focused on beating those guys, beating Sepp Kuss, beating Roglic, and beating Jonas Vingegaard. That, if you can do that, you can get out of this Vuelta with the self-confidence, knowing yourself that you can beat those guys or stay with those guys. And, we don't have all these questions of, is Evenepoel really going to be able to do a Grand Tour against those guys at the highest level because he always has a bad day? I would focus on that. That would be my only goal. And so, again, I don't know how it works nowadays with, the new generation of big champions. If they accept certain advice, or if the DSs, the directors sportifs, or just drivers who kind of, accommodate the young cycling champions and just make sure that they're happy. I'm afraid I have to say I fear it's the second, and there is no way that a guy like Remco knows. He's, first of all, he's still young, and he doesn't have any experience. I mean, at least not a lot of experience. He's gaining experience, but it often takes somebody who can distance himself from that interest of that young guy, and tell him otherwise. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what needs to happen or that it would work, but why not give it a try? That's what I would have done in the case of Soudal QuickStep. Don't try to go in breakaways anymore now. You've shown you can do that. You show you can, ride the whole peloton at a distance. Just get back in there and fight it out with those GC leaders when it really matters on the Angliru. Maybe he's going to do it. Maybe. I mean, listen, that's also different now. Tomorrow is a rest day. Then there's another stage. So maybe with 2 days of recovery and focusing, maybe it's enough. But man, what he spent today and what he spent yesterday, I cannot imagine that he will not feel that when it really matters on the Angliru.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the ultimate Evenepoel hater, and if he won on the Angliru out of the GC group, I would have to admit that, wow, this guy could be a really good GC racer against the best. But the problem with this logic is, if the team and him were strategic enough to come up with this plan and say, don't go in the breakaways, then they probably wouldn't be in this problem to begin with, because they would have managed this race differently. I think he's probably trying to do all of it. I bet he thinks, well, rest day, I can rest. I bet he's in the breakaway on stage 16 because it's a pretty good finish for him. And then I bet he tries to win stage 17 as well. It seems like that could be a little bit difficult, but I also think that's a good point about, I think maybe there has to be a level of respect between these star riders and their directors. Like if you remember Nicolas Portal, who tragically passed away way too young, at Sky before it was Ineos. Like, he was really good at managing those egos. And then once he passed away, the team just has not been the same since. I think he was a great man manager, and that's probably what's missing at QuickStep. Maybe there's not the respect there from Evenepoel, because Evenepoel can't look at any of his directors and say, wow, this guy has managed or ridden to many different 3-week stage race victories.
Yeah, I mean, listen. At some point, maybe it also doesn't matter who's there. Maybe that's just the way Evenepoel is. I don't know him personally well enough to say. Maybe if it's even Eddie Merckx or whoever, he would say, "Hey, what the hell do you know? This is a different game now. I'm doing what I want." It is possible that that's the case, right? But ultimately, if you're a cycling champion, you still ride for a team. That team pays you, and that team puts in place a structure to give instructions, decide strategies, whether it's with or without the input of their star riders. Probably with, most likely with. But there needs to be somebody making the final call, and the final call needs to be the guy who's the captain of the ship, which should be at a stage race, which should be the director. But I think the captain of the ship is probably Remco here.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And just before we go, people are going to say, well, why isn't anyone attacking Jumbo? Come on, get someone in a breakaway on a raid stage. Well, UAE tried today. They got Marc Soler up the road. This was one of the hardest starts to a stage probably all year. We didn't see most of it because they didn't televise it. But when the TV coverage started, Soler was up the road with Evenepoel in a big move with a tiny peloton. Jumbo riders had been dropped. Looks great, right? Because they have to chase Soler all day. Well, Jonas Vingegaard is in the move with Marc Soler. So what's Marc Soler going to do? Take a bunch of time and then still be way behind Jonas? And Jumbo had the strength, even with riders dropped, even with Jonas up the road, to chase it back. So It shows you that if anyone wants to beat them, they're going to have to drop them on stage 17. Don't you think? That's the only way.
No, a stage like today, it's basically impossible, because even if they get in trouble in the front, they can still, slow it down, get the team back together, and then basically work as a unit.
Yeah.
And they'll either, sufficiently limit the losses or most likely bring it back. So there's not much you can do. They really have to hope for a bad day. But as we said before, they're not all three going to have a bad day at some point. So one of the Jumbo-Visma guys is going to win the Vuelta. Most likely Sepp Kuss, and most likely two of them will be on the podium, and probably three.
Well, Johan, do you have anything else to share before we let you take off and enjoy your rest day?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll be back tomorrow on Outcomes to predict stage 16.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Talk to you later. And thanks everyone for listening.